Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear brothers and sisters and viewers of Iqra TV, welcome to another edition of Real Talk, that program that comes to you every week, day in, day out, talking about issues of interest, of concern to the community and the viewers of Iqra TV. And every week I try and bring somebody special, somebody unique to bring to the studio with whom we can have a chat and understand some of the work that they're doing and the impact that they're having on the citizens or wherever they come from. We've had people from across the country come here and join us and talk about all sorts of issues and subjects, and I know that people have found that to be very interesting. Today my theme is about education, particularly education around universities, and I'm really pleased to say I'm deeply honoured to have with me today the recently appointed Vice Chancellor of the University of Bradford, Professor Shirley Congdon. Shirley, welcome to Iqra TV and Real Talk. Nice to have you here. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you.
You haven't come from far?
No, just a few miles at least.
Just down the road. Because the university is bang in the centre of Bradford. It's in the heart of the Asian community as well, and it's been there for many, many years. Now, you've just recently been appointed, haven't you, in this role as Vice Chancellor. Right. How long have you been the Vice Chancellor now?
Right. So just about 100 days. So
100 days?
I'm approaching my 100 days.
All right. And how have you found the first 100 days? I mean, you worked there before, so you're not from outside.
No, so I know the university very well. I've been working at the university now for about 9 years.
All right.
So in this last 3 months, I've been absolutely honoured and delighted to take up the position of Vice Chancellor.
All right. What is the role of the Vice Chancellor? I mean, we hear these terms, but we don't know. You have the Chancellor, and I'm sure many of our viewers will remember that the former Chancellor of the University of Bradford was none other than Imran Khan, the current Prime Minister of Pakistan, who, before he became the Prime Minister, before he really went into politics, he was a very good friend of the University of Bradford, and he was appointed the Chancellor of the University of Bradford, the post that I think he held for about 3 or 4 years. But I mean, coming back, Shirley, the role of the Vice Chancellor is obviously very important. You are the head of the university. You are effectively you run the organisation. But what does that entail?
So I suppose the Vice Chancellor role is similar to a Chief Executive Officer in any business.
Right.
So that means that I'm the senior academic and the principal officer of the university, responsible for all aspects of its functioning, the quality, the standards,
right,
the research, the financial operation and its sustainability.
That's a huge task, isn't it?
It's a very big task.
So you must have a management team, of course.
I do, yeah. I have a management team.
You can't do it on yourself?
No.
Your own.
We have executive board,
Right,
which supports me in the decisions that I make in terms of the running of the university. And
right,
that executive board comprises the heads of the faculties, the faculty
right,
deans, 2 pro-vice chancellors. We have a Chief Financial Operating Officer,
right,
Director of HR and Organisational Development, academic registrars, University Secretary, etc.
So how many staff do you have then in the university, roughly? Do you know?
So we've got about 680 staff in total.
Wow, that's quite a big operation, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's sort of not a small size company.
No, it's a large company.
It's a large company.
Large business.
And what sort of budget do you have for the university?
So our turnover is probably about £111 million.
Right.
So we're a medium-sized university, and my vision is that we can grow the size of the university. It's got smaller over the last number of years,
right,
but the plan is to grow those student
and what
numbers.
What do you think is the purpose? Oh, sorry, the reason why it went smaller? Is that the pupil roll numbers went down, or is it the facilities were not there for you to expand?
I suppose a number of reasons, really. There's been increased competition in higher education as the regulatory body took the cap off. It used to cap the number of students universities
right,
could take, and that cap came off, and that created intense competition right across the country for student numbers. And combined with that, at the time, the strategy was to raise the entry requirements on the courses. So that, combined with the cap being released, intensified the pressure on us, really, for student numbers.
So, I mean, how many students do you have? I mean, you talked about 600 staff.
Yeah, so we've got in the order of about 10,300 students,
right,
at the minute in total.
Right, that's quite a sizable number as well.
Yeah.
And your student population, is it mainly from the Bradford area, or do you get people from outside the region as well, outside the city?
So for our home students, those that are either home students or come from the European Union, as we're in it currently, form the majority of our students. So 40% of our students come from the inner part of Bradford.
All right.
So we recruit significantly from Bradford, and those students do extremely well when they come with us, and they all leave with good degrees and good jobs.
Good. Right. So the rest come from other parts of
the rest come from either other parts of Bradford or Yorkshire, and then we've got about 23% of our students are international.
So they're overseas students. And is that population growing or is it shrinking? Because I know that there's a huge competition, isn't there, for the overseas student market?
That's true. Well, the overseas market is actually growing.
Is it?
And what we would like to do is grow our market share of that increasing market, and we'd also like to continue to grow our market share of home students as well, because the number of 18-year-olds in 2 years' time will start to increase, and right across the country we'll see 18-year-old numbers increasing.
Well, Bradford's got the youngest population
it has.
in the whole of the UK.
It has.
So the potential for you is quite enormous, isn't it?
It is, because it's a large population, but interestingly enough, the rise in the number of 18-year-olds in Bradford will not follow the same trajectory as the rest of the country. So it will rise, but not to the same extent.
All right. And I mean, in terms of, you know, the long-term future plan for the university, in terms of sustainability, obviously you're targeting the 18-year-olds in the area. What sort of initiatives have you got, or have you developed to target these people, to say, look, if you've got the qualifications, you want to come into university, don't look elsewhere, stay in your hometown.
Stay in Bradford,
yeah, stay in your hometown.
So I think it's really important that people understand that the University of Bradford, the way I'm positioning it, is a university of and for Bradford, but a university that also will give you a rich experience of mixing with many people from different parts of the world. And importantly, if you come to the University of Bradford, you will be able to enter into a highly professionalised post at the end of the programme. Now, I think a lot of people have been thinking that maybe the University of Bradford has its eyes set somewhere else on students from outside Bradford, but you know, the statistics speak for themselves. We do want to focus on more students from Bradford.
So you're saying that students who come through the University of Bradford stand a better chance of getting a job at the end of their studies, you know, whichever faculty they go into?
That's right. So we rank 25th in the UK for graduate employment. So the majority of our students go on to professional or managerial jobs when they finish here, which is, you know, 25 is quite a good position to be in, and we're working on improving that statistic all of the time.
And what types of sort of qualifications or disciplines or courses do you have at the university? I mean, you're not a medical school, are you, for example?
No, we don't have a medical
Leeds
school.
is a medical school, Sheffield is, so you're not
not yet anyway, not yet.
But you hope to become one. But what other areas, you know, do you provide educational qualifications
so we're
degrees in?
We're quite a broad-based university, so we cover the majority of discipline areas. So we've got a really strong offer in health, so we run programs in midwifery, occupational therapy, pharmacy, optometry, radiography, nursing, social care, psychology, biomedical sciences, clinical technology. So we've got a real raft of strong programs in that area, and a lot of outstanding research in those areas as well. We run engineering programs, civil, mechanical, structural, chemical engineering, chemistry. We've got programs broadly based in business and law and economics and social sciences. So we cover the breadth of it. And we've also got very unique programs in archaeology, which are high quality, and peace and international development.
Well, I mean, peace studies, I remember the name of the professor.
Paul Rogers.
Paul Rogers, yeah, that's it, thank you. I mean, obviously he was very well known across the world.
He was, still is.
Yes, you know, I mean, we don't see him on TV that often nowadays. But I mean, I used to see him quite regularly, you know, a man who knew his subject extremely well.
He did.
He was an expert, you know, and highly regarded and respected. So wherever he appeared, he was always, you know, so a title as University of Bradford. Now, in terms of, you know, also before we went on air, we talked about your media links as well. As the university has got very strong media communications links as well, hasn't it?
That's right. So it's really important, as Bradford is a UNESCO City of Film, that we try to link in our media offer closely to the city. Right. So we do TV production and media studies and gaming, and those areas we would like to see growing. And I think with the cultural offer in Bradford growing, and with us, we have our own theatre on campus, Theatre in the Mill.
Right, I see.
We work closely with David Wilson from the UNESCO City of Film, so we really want to really maximise our ability to help people get degrees in TV production and independent TV production as well, which is increasingly popular.
Right. I mean, in terms of, you said talk about the culture and things like that. You recently, the University of Bradford won the award for being the most socially inclusion award, hasn't it?
That's right.
In the whole of the UK.
That's right.
So can you just give us a little bit of background about what that award was all about?
Yeah, so the government, and I believe this is absolutely right, are continuing, and I think any government will focus on social mobility. It is really important that we can level the playing field, and that everybody, regardless of background or regardless of socioeconomic status, can have the opportunity to have a degree level education. So this means you've got to do quite a number of complex and often conflicting things to make sure that you can level that playing field. So you've got to think very carefully about the way that you recruit students, the entry level that you set, the approach to entry, the approach to assessing students' ability before they join us, and making sure that when students come to the University of Bradford, that we understand their individual needs, and that we're not just providing a one-size-fits-all experience, that you can provide a wraparound care where students who might be more vulnerable or they need more support can be cared for and looked after and supported in their studies individually.
So, I mean, we know that recently there's been quite a bit of studies around the mental health of students because of the pressures of the, the degree courses they do. And there's been unfortunate tragedies, recently as well. And universities are trying to do their best to provide, as you say, holistic care. What sort of initiatives are you actually running within the university to provide that care, well-being support to students who may find themselves struggling, mentally, emotionally, etc., with the coursework that they're doing, or the expectations they may have?
No, absolutely. I think the first thing is that universities generally in the UK recognise the importance of mental well-being to the success of them being at university. We take it very seriously. But this means you've got to do a number of things. You've got to have embedded in your approach a personal approach to students. So they've got to feel that they belong to the institution. So we talk about Team Bradford and belonging to the Team Bradford family, and making sure that students understand if they've got a problem, they can go to a number of places to talk about it, and we have a strong counselling service and a strong mental health service to support students if they need it. But ideally, we don't want students to need to use those services. We want them to be able to talk to their academics, to the administrators, so that we can identify and solve issues very, very early so they don't escalate. But some students, they don't like to talk about their problems. Especially in Bradford, I've come across a lot of students who will tell us too late that they had a problem and it's impacted on their examinations. And if they tell us beforehand, then we can put mechanisms in place to support them. We do work with a local NHS trust, with Bradford District Care Trust. We've got a wellbeing college initiative for students that we work with them, and we work with lots of other different charities and organisations to link in and support students.
Now, obviously, being in Bradford, Bradford has got a very large Muslim population. So I'm assuming that to a certain degree it will be reflected in your student population as well. Now, what sort of provision have you got? Some will be quite practicing Muslims, others may not. And for those who are, may want prayer facilities, halal food facilities, etc. I mean, have you got these facilities in place over there at the university?
We do, and we always try to take an approach where we want to be inclusive. So we want to make sure that anybody, regardless of their faith or non-faith, can feel that they belong at Bradford. But that means you've got to put in place, sufficient, I suppose, facilities for prayer. We've got a multi-faith centre. We work collectively with our university minister. So I think he's coming on your programme next week.
He's coming on my programme next week, hopefully.
Yeah, and it's very important that we work with the students and our staff to understand what their needs are.
And do you find students are open and sort of relaxed about coming forward and bringing issues that they feel the university needs to address? Do you feel that there's an openness and a willingness to do that?
I would say generally yes,
right.
And I think increasingly. The Students' Union are absolutely fantastic at Bradford. So they're elected members of the student body, and they're elected for a maximum, 1 year or 2 years maximum. Right. And they provide a really strong conduit between the students and the university. And they can facilitate those discussions with us if the students feel they can't come to us directly. But there's a well-developed mechanism of student representatives. So each programme has student representatives, each faculty does, and they meet regularly, and then they meet with the Students' Union, and regularly I hold student listening events.
Right.
So we are trying our very best to reach out to students and to let them know that it's their university and it's their experience and their well-being that we care about.
I mean, in terms of you say their university, I mean, as I say, as we talked about, the university is right in the heart of the city of Bradford, surrounded by a very large Asian population, around the university itself. Now, in terms of wider community engagement between yourself, the university, how important is it that you have that, you feel that you need to have that sort of connection between the university on the one hand, which is a major employer as well to a certain extent, a major service provider, and the community within which it's located? Do you have sort of strong links, and how have you gone about establishing those links? For example, you talked about the mental health sort of well-being of the students. I mean, there are lots of mosques around the university area. So do you have any strong links with the mosque themselves?
So we work in partnership with a number of individuals and a number of organisations. Now, my plan is that I've committed to developing a civic university agreement. Right. Now, we may not call it a civic university agreement, but that's what the initiative is called nationally. So you might want to call it an engagement strategy. Right. So I'm in the process of developing our engagement strategy, which will be to identify those organisations and those businesses and those charities and those individuals that we need to work with, because what I've learned is that there are many communities in Bradford. And to say community engagement oversimplifies it. So there's many communities with different ways of, I suppose, expressing themselves and different values and different beliefs, and we need to make sure that we are as open and inclusive as possible. But you're absolutely right. We've got 70% of our students are from Black, Asian, and minority ethnic groups.
70%.
Yeah,
that's quite a high number.
It's about the highest in the UK.
Right.
So we've got to make sure that we understand those students and their needs, and provide appropriate support and mechanisms, and understand the culture that they come from.
So do you, some of the large public sector organisations have got particularly local authorities or even the NHS have got dedicated sort of small teams of diversity employees and workers who work around diversity issues.
Yes.
So they would bring these issues to your attention. Do you have a team like that?
Yeah, we do. So we have our professor of diversity.
Oh, right.
It's called Professor Udi Archibong.
Right.
And she's been championing equality and diversity at Bradford for many years. And she heads up a centre for inclusion and diversity. And through her work, we lead our strategic work on inclusion and diversity. So if we're really serious, which we are, about social mobility, we've got to make sure that the strategy we use to level the playing field and give everybody opportunities to access and succeed are not just lip service. So it's embedded in our strategy, it's embedded in how we use our resource, etc.
So in this award that you got, many congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
You were announced by the Times as the #1 university for social inclusion, and that does not mean around race, but it talks about gender, disability, sexual orientation, etc. So all characteristics are covered, I mean, what did you do different that other universities were not doing that you think won you the award?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you've done something really good and well.
That's right. So I've been telling everybody, like, we're really proud of the award. It isn't an award that we nominated ourselves for.
All right.
It was based on metrics.
All right.
So it was an assessment of our performance. But I think what we've done differently is we've had a sustained and continued focus on equality and diversity. So for the last, 20 years, we've been making sure that we think about what difference is, what we mean by difference, what we mean by inclusion. And we're moving ourselves to a position about inclusion not being about what we used to call years ago, and we need to understand and tolerate difference. It's about understanding and leveraging difference and seeking it out, valuing it, and really making sure that everybody in our organisation understands that we all benefit from inclusion. It's really, really important. And
oh, definitely. Now, obviously, in recently we've also seen the unfortunate rise of the right in this country as well. We've seen the EDLs, Britain First, etc. And also, regrettably, we're now seeing that some of that right-wing movement is permeating into the university structure as well. Unfortunately, probably not in the Bradford area, but in some areas, just like extremists on the other side are also doing it. Now, what are you doing to challenge that or tackle that? I mean, if you come across issues where you may find some abhorrent views, whichever side it may be, how do you tackle those issues?
I suppose fundamentally what we've got to start off is our values. So the university values have got to be very clear. So equality and diversity and challenging inequality and celebrating difference is what we do.
Right.
And that means we can't tolerate anything that doesn't fit with those values.
Right.
So we've got to be very careful about, I suppose, the debates we have, the people that we would engage in debate with. It's really important that universities are standing up for freedom of speech. But it's a very fine line, and we've got to make sure that we create safe spaces for people to have the debates that matter in society.
Right.
So we do need to be having debates which allow people to talk about race, gender, hate crime, whatever that may be, but in a way where we are trying to be progressive and to counter the narrative from that right that you're talking about.
Right. And obviously this is an interesting subject area. We're going for a break now. I hope the first part of the program that we just had you found interesting. Inshallah, don't go away. We'll be back soon. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.